Hello and welcome to Red Barn Radio. I'm Brad Becker. This is the last program in Red Barn Radio's 18th broadcast season. You know what that means? This is show number 698. Did you know that? It is. All right. But to keep our staff and our musical guests safe, we will continue to abide by state and local guidelines concerning cleanliness and personal protective equipment. For now, our Wednesday performances will take place without a live audience. And with all that said, please, folks, welcome to the Red Barn stage, Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies.
Are closed. They done canceled all the shows. Lord knows I sure will miss that sound. There's nothing new about awful plagues. They happened in the good old days when Moses threw his staff down on the ground. We gotta keep our distance now. Keep that plague from spreading around like the frogs and flies and locusts did back then. I guess we shouldn't go to work, bingo halls or mega church. They say that stuff is blowing in the wind. Sitting here in quarantine right now, life is awful mean, but I don't mean to do nobody harm. Sitting here in quarantine, just working on a new routine. This loneliness that'll get us through this storm. Guess I got it pretty good. A nice warm fire and a pile of wood. Anyway, spring is coming around. Times ain't like they were back then when the darkness covered all the land and Pharaoh wouldn't let the Jews leave town. I got the music turned up high, that's how I've been getting by. I'll do my part to flatten out the curve. Now all the family's here. I got a bowl of fruit and a box of beer, and that's a whole lot more than I deserve. Sitting here in quarantine, now life is awful mean, but I don't mean to do nobody harm. Sitting here in quarantine, just working on a new routine. It's loneliness that'll get us through this storm. Sitting here in quarantine, and I guess I'll have to keep things clean, 'cause I don't mean to do nobody harm. Sitting here in quarantine, just staring at the TV screen. It's loneliness that'll get us through this storm. Yes, it's loneliness that'll get us through this storm.
Good evening, and welcome to Red Barn Radio. Wherever in the world you're listening, welcome to the music of Kentucky. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn Radio's official radio partner, NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. Red Barn Radio is supported by Visit Lex, Lexington, Kentucky's Convention and Visitors Bureau. More information on what Lexington has to offer is at visitlex.com. Lex Arts, Lexington, Kentucky's Arts Council, creating a great American city inspired by the arts. Chef Greg Scott and Broussard's Delta Kitchen, featuring authentic flavors of New Orleans and the Mississippi Delta on Main Street in historic Georgetown, Kentucky. Broussard's is on Facebook. And AccuPrint, providing printing, design, and fulfillment. Online at accuprint.us. Follow Red Barn Radio on Twitter, and hopefully like us on Facebook. Here's the host of Red Barn Radio to tell us more about tonight's performance.
On the Red Barn stage tonight are Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies, with the wit, wisdom, and a good measure of honesty that allows him to tell stories through music. Don Rogers has amassed a following by creating something really uniquely Kentucky. Joined by an all-star group of musicians tonight, together they'll give you a great night of Kentucky music. Please welcome back Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies to the Red Barn stage.
Thank you, folks. So I'm going to play a song that recorded for my my record called Winetown, and this is a song about an old friend of mine that I used to play music with from up in Estill County. It's called Jerry Wayne. Well, today I got to thinking about Jerry Wayne. This old place won't ever be the same. I saw a sticker on a pickup truck with his picture and his name. That's what got me to thinking about Jerry Wayne. Well, he was raised on that good old bluegrass sound, and he'd make everybody smile when he'd come around. And I learned a lot about the guitar and got the confidence to sing on the back of my truck, sitting next to Jerry Wayne. Well, he sanded down the top on his D35. When he'd hit them strings, that thing would come alive. Now, he knew a lot of good bluegrass music, and everybody knew his name. It broke a lot of hearts when we lost old Jerry Wayne. And today, I got to thinking about Jerry Wayne. This old place won't ever be the same. I saw a sticker on a pickup truck with his picture and his name. That's what got me to thinking about Jerry Wayne. Big John. I drove by the place where Jerry died. The road, it was straight and pretty wide. It was just a tragic mystery nobody can explain. Yeah, we sure didn't get enough time with Jerry Wayne. And he sure knew how to live his life. And when he'd pat you on the back, he'd do it right. And the way he lit a cigarette was the same way that he sang. Yeah, we all ought to live a little more like Jerry Wayne. Yeah, today I got to thinking about Jerry Wayne. And this old place won't ever be the same. I saw a sticker on a pickup truck with his picture and his name. That's what got me to thinking about Jerry Wayne. I saw a sticker on a pickup truck with his picture and his name. That's what got me to thinking about Jerry Wayne. All right, I'm going to switch guitars here and play some good old Clark County music. Play a song that we recorded on our This Ain't My Generation record that we did with this exact band right here last summer. This is a song I wrote about a place in Clark County that I spent a lot of time, and a good old friend of mine from back when I was in high school. Old man, old friend, it chills me like the wind. I remember when you used to be the only friend that I could name. Old man, old friend, your face weathered like the wind. Life's breath has blown you in from out of the snow and rain. Long gone, down on, way down on Muddy Creek. Take me back, down on Muddy Creek. Long days, hard times, in the moment when you're running round blind. Back in the time when we thought our lives were free. Smoking bowls with raw souls, racing by the river past the telephone poles, zipping by like a picket fence through youth's insanity. Long gone, down on, way down on Muddy Creek. Take me back, down on Muddy Creek. Well, I remember once when times got hard, I saw you with a shotgun in your front yard. A busted up house, a busted up life, a busted up heart when she left that night. A gut scream in your front yard. Man, I never seen a woman run so hard. From her past and from yours too, out into oblivion. Wasted wheels, wasted words have never been spoken and never been heard. Statues break and hearts do too, so you might as well shoot at the sun. Long gone, down on, way down on Muddy Creek. Take me back, down on Muddy Creek. All that's left is memories. You went right and I went left, down on Muddy Creek. Now she's gone, she's lonesome gone, and I can quit singing this lonesome song. I hope that life is ripe and sweet, down on Muddy Creek. Long gone, down on, way down on Muddy Creek. Take me back, down on Muddy Creek. All right. Well, we'll do another one off of our record. This one was inspired by a trip that I took to California on a family vacation when I was a teenager, and we were driving in a little Honda Accord and got out to West Kentucky with the whole family, and our car broke down. Well, we were with the whole family except my older brother, who then drove out to meet us in a little Mazda pickup truck with a camper top on the back. And yes, my younger brother and I made the whole trip to California and back in the back of that Mazda pickup truck. it was in August. It was splitting hot, and we had a big time. But anyway, this song is it's really sort of about the disillusionment of what a lot of people have in their mind and have had in their mind throughout American history about just how great this great state of California is. I met a man one time who said he came from the Golden State, and I had never been that far before. So I rode all the way in the back of a foreign pickup truck just to see that great Pacific shore. Well, I heard there was sunshine, and I heard that there was peace, glory, gold, and comfort waiting there. But it did not take me long to see that it's just like the East. You know, it's those with the most always thinking life ain't fair. In Silicon Valley, where the streets are paved with greed, probably never go there before I die. In that California alley where the marble stairway leads to that great McMansion in the sky. The man said he would take me out on the sands of heaven's shore, where everyone can have a slice of American pie. But I touched that cold, cold water. I gave a quarter to the poor, and then I breathed in so much smog I thought I would die. Well, they say California sunshine can make a rich man give it away, make a poor man think that he's free. But out here it's like a desert, and it hardly ever rains. You know, heaven's weather is not what I thought it would be. In Silicon Valley, where the streets are paved with green, I'll probably never go there before I die. In that California alley where the marble stairway leads to that great McMansion in the sky. Silicon Valley, where the streets are paved with green, I'll probably never go there before I die. In that California alley where the marble stairway leads to that great McMansion in the sky. Thank you.
Hey, I'm here with Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies tonight on Red Barn Radio, and welcome to all of you. Great to have you here. Music sounds good, and I know many of you have been here before. Don, I was thinking there's so much that I have to talk with you about, but before we start A Blue Streak, could you go ahead and introduce quickly the members of the band, and then I'll come back maybe and touch base with them later on.
Absolutely. As you
Yeah.
said in your little opener there, this is an all-star band, and I'm very fortunate to
Absolutely.
have such great musicians to play with. We have Anna Klein on guitar and harmony vocals. We have Mr. John Looney on electric guitar. We have Mr. Josh Anglin on drums. And we have Mr. Brandon May on bass.
Hey, everybody. All right. Hey, so Don, and then we have you. Let's talk a little bit about you and where you come from. You live in Bath now,
Yes,
Bath
sir.
County. Can you tell folks who are listening sort of where Bath County is situated in this great state?
Yes, it is about an hour's drive east of Lexington between Mount Sterling and Moorhead.
And what's the county seat?
County seat is Owingsville.
Okay. What kind of town is that?
It is a very small town. It's an old, really old town that was once very prosperous back in the sort of early years of agriculture. It was a big agriculture center there. But it's a small, dwindling town. But I don't live in the town. I live pretty far out of town, out in the country.
Do you go? Is there anything in the town that you or your family would go in for on a semi-regular basis, other than to maybe get your tags renewed or something?
We go to the Ace Hardware.
Oh, you do? Is a good hardware store there?
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, there's something there.
there's something there. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, honestly, we have a lot of hardware in Lexington, but so many of the great old, so many of the great Ace hardwares that used to be here now have been replaced by Home Depots and Lowe's, which are great if you have the time to go in and you know what you want.
Right.
But there's not that guy who's going to sort of hang out with you and, talk you through the different bolts and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have.
Yeah, and so where did you didn't grow up there, though, right?
I didn't. I grew up in Clark County, just a couple miles outside of Winchester on a little small acreage place that my family moved to back when I was a kid. And my family's been in Clark County for several generations.
And was your mom and dad there to work, to farm?
They they worked in town. They actually both grew up in town, but they grew up in families that all sort of town was part farm. They had hogs in town when my parents grew up. It's that kind of thing. So agriculture in town was a blurred line.
Yeah, right. And you had a brother, the guy who you were in the back you were on the Mazda bed with for
That's right.
3,000 miles or whatever.
Yes.
And is this a younger or an older brother?
Well, that's the younger brother. I have an older brother as well.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
All right. And where are they now?
So my younger brother's in Asheville, North Carolina. My older brother lives right next to my parents in Clark County, where I grew up.
And are you the only musician among the boys?
I'm not. My older brother played guitar and fiddle before I ever played anything, and he was one of my primary inspirations for learning how to play music.
Was he your Jerry Wayne?
Early on, yes. Like learning chords and having somebody to strum along with. Jerry Wayne was actually, Jerry Wayne Cheney was a guy from up in Estill County that I used to meet up with at bluegrass festivals on a regular basis. And he was a great guitar player and a great singer. And he inspired me to, really sort of step out there and sing and play and take breaks on a guitar. And it's just one of these really encouraging guys who was just a few years older than me. But he died tragically in a car wreck about 10 years ago. I think it was 9 years ago, actually. And like I say, everybody knew this guy. Everybody really was inspired by him.
And he was he from Clark County?
He was from Estill County,
From Estill,
just east of Clark County.
Yeah.
And close to where I lived. At the time that I was spending a lot of time with him, I lived in the furthest east, tip of Clark County in a place called Trapp, Kentucky, which is right on the Estill and Powell County lines.
So, but before you ever met Jerry, though, you had a lot of family, a lot of music in your family, and I'd love for you to tell the story of your grandpa and then your dad too, right?
Okay.
Yeah, tell about them.
So my dad's father was born up in Estill County in the 1890s, and he was in his 50s when my dad was born. So he and his brothers all played music for a living in the early 20th century, but they all had died out by the time I came along. So all I had was stories from my father, who is probably the best storyteller I know. He's a very entertaining storyteller.
I know
and
this.
He had lots of stories, and he played some music. He played some guitar and played around on the banjo some. And those stories really inspired my music more than probably any one thing. Was the imagination of the sort of excitement around music and the fellowship and the mischievous things you get into and all of the sort of creativity and all of that stuff. My dad just really played that up, and it was in this context of really, Kentucky musicians. They were my grandfather's brother, Silas Rogers, was a great old time fiddler who played on radio stations in the early years of radio, and they had a few recordings which hit my ears when I was a teenager for the first time, and it kind of blew my mind, like stepping back in time, these recordings from the 30s of them. And so some archivists and musical historians came around to my family back in the 1980s when I was a teenager, and were trying to track down as much information as they could about my grandfather and his brothers. And so they had all these other stories about the whole scene back then, of all of these old fiddle players trading tunes and sharing stuff, and that really just drew me in. And really, from an early age, I've been obsessed with all kinds of music, but I have to say that really hooked me probably more than anything.
Oh, very cool. But your grandpa, though, was that the Kentucky String Ticklers?
Yes.
Okay.
His name was Charlie Rogers, and his brothers Silas and Bryant and Roy were in several different bands. One of them, with some other folks that they played with at the time, was recorded at Jeanette Recording up in Indiana under the name the Kentucky String Ticklers. And the first exposure I had here to Red Barn Radio was with my group that I called the New Kentucky String Ticklers, and that forged a great relationship with Ed Commons here, who ended up producing a record of that band, the New Kentucky String Ticklers, which was a great experience.
And that was when we first met, too.
Yes.
And I was not... I would never know at that point in time. I did not, I guess my daughter would have been very young at that time, would not know that she would go on to play fiddle, and then that we would spend time with you at festivals, bluegrass and old-time festivals, and, think of Cowan Creek. Going back to, and that's a great story about your family and your dad. I mean, there's so much more to tell about your dad. I got to know your dad, at the Moorhead, I think best, at the Moorhead Festival, where he was always selling instruments. And I never bought one from him.
He probably remembers that, Brad.
I did notice that he started to ignore me when I came into the booth after a few years. But it's. When I saw that culture of culture of mentorship, out of those old time festivals, and then especially at Cowan Creek, I watched you. I had a chance to see you be that again. Back to your friend Jerry, be that kind of person for so many young people at those festivals, and that was really touching for me. And I think it's just an interesting part of that old time, about that old time culture,
Yeah, it's crucial that we engage the young people and that we keep reinventing ourselves collectively. And the young people are going to do that. And I've always felt like that, and I've always felt like it's worthwhile to spend time with them. they end up doing the most creative and exciting things, it seems like.
Well, you did. And what about your kids? You have daughters. You have 2 daughters.
I have 2 daughters. They both live in Louisville, and they both still dabble in music and songwriting and writing and poetry and all kinds of things like that. There's a really strong old-time music community in Louisville that they are connected with.
And so you mean do they have old-time festivals, sort of like the gathering that we have here?
They don't have festivals, but they have jams. They actually all come to the Lexington gathering that we have here at Arts Place every February. That a lot of that crew from Louisville does. But they get together and have jams, and there's a big crew of them. There's a folk school there in Louisville that a lot of those folks are connected with as well.
So when you started playing music, was it acoustic music that you started with?
Yes.
Okay.
It was the very first thing was acoustic guitar. I learned a few tunes off of it, including a song that my grandfather wrote called the Rocky Road Blues that ended up getting recorded by Bill Monroe. And he did it as a country blues style tune that my dad learned from him when he was a kid and passed on to me. It's one of the first things I learned on guitar. And then when I was a teenager, my dad got a banjo, a good bluegrass banjo, and I went to town and took lessons off of this great old hard-nosed bluegrass banjo teacher and learned that style and really got into that pretty heavy.
Oh, wow. And so you rebelled musically a little bit later in life when you were all grown up?
Well, it depends on who you talk to. Both whether or not it's rebellion and both whether or not I grew up is up for debate. No, there is a good story, though, about that. I started playing electric guitar when I was in college. My brother had this pretty ragged old PV guitar, and I had a little amp, and I would turn it up and play and make noise and try to play, ZZ Top songs or something. And my dad yelled at me from the bottom of the stairs one day, "Turn that stuff down." And so I started playing an old time tune on the distorted electric guitar. That was my really only sign of rebellion, act of rebellion.
Well, it's interesting to me that so many of your songs that I listen to, like on Spotify, I was listening today. I sat out and had a little listening party, a COVID listening party, so I was listening all by myself. Back in my backyard, and everything was acoustic, off of the Spotify list that I was listening to.
Yeah,
and you're playing many of those songs tonight electrically.
That's right.
And why is it that you didn't record so many of these songs electrically?
Well, my obsessions alternate between acoustic guitar, electric guitar, fiddle, and mandolin, and I, you can't do them all at the same time, or I would,
Well, you can plug them all; they all can be plugged in.
Right, but you can't get the whole nitty gritty of it all, And so I really had an image for that Winetown record that was what it turned out to be. I'm really happy with how it turned out. My daughter played with me on that. My old friend Roddy Puckett played bass on that, and my good friend Jesse Wells played fiddle on that record. And I wanted it to be simple. I wanted to go in the studio and make it simple. The other thing is, Jesse and I had been playing a lot of those songs together in our band, Kentucky Wild Horse, so we didn't have to rehearse that stuff at all. We just kind of went in and laid it down.
Yeah, well, that's right. Sometimes it's nice to have that.
Yeah.
When you walk into a studio, especially if
you're paying for it.
Especially if you don't have a lot of money in your
Right.
wallet. Yeah. Hey, folks, I'm talking to Don Rogers, and he's here with the Apostlebillies. If you're not listening closely, start now, because this is some great music, and you're going to love the lyrics and these great players who are on stage with us tonight. Welcome them back, folks. Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies.
All right, I have to give a little caveat about this next song. So I wrote a couple of songs back in March when we all went into hiding and started trying to figure out how to live our lives the way that we're living them right now. So the one song that I made, the first one, was called Quarantine. And then I started thinking, well, hopefully this will be over by Labor Day and we can all get back together. So I wrote another song about Labor Day. And thankfully I didn't say which Labor Day. So, I don't think it'll be this Labor Day. We weren't made to be so alone, living in a big old jail we used to call a home. It ain't being inside our heads, but being with each other that keeps us going. And I don't mean a tiny screen on your telephone. Come Labor Day, maybe it'll be okay. We can all get out, it won't have to be this way. We can get together then, tell it all to all our friends. I know we'll have a lot to say come Labor Day. Well, I sure would like to see old Roger Combs. Instead, I'm sitting here like a stone. Most people have never met half as many people as Roger has known. And I'd like to get them all together when this thing's gone. Come Labor Day, maybe it'll be okay. We can all get out, it won't have to be this way. We can get together then, tell it all to all our friends. I know we'll have a lot to say come Labor Day. Come Labor Day, maybe it'll be okay. We can all get out, and it won't have to be this way. We can get together then, tell it all to all our friends. I know we'll have a lot to say next Labor Day. We'll have a lot to say come next Labor Day. All right, hopefully. I'm a Kentuckian. So this next song I wrote and recorded on my Winetown record. It's called I'm a Kentuckian. It is, it's about the environment I grew up in, which was complicated. I grew up in the South, and there's very complicated issues with injustice in the South, and I was thinking about this here recently, as we've all been thinking a lot about injustice and racism. And really, I've worked hard to try to be a better person all along. And the well that I keep going back to is the culture of love and acceptance that I was raised in, although a complicated culture of a lot of injustice and hate sort of baked into the environment. There's also great resources of love in the way that people treated each other around me growing up. So I wanted to sort of share that in a song, and this is it. Well, I'm a Kentuckian, I'm from the South, but you won't hear hate coming from my mouth unless it's aimed at greed, or maybe hate itself. And I believe in a commonwealth. I'm from this place, and that's how I was raised. I'm a Kentuckian. The people in my life knew how to love. They see a man fall down and then they'd help him up. Sometimes they would say harsh things, but it wasn't that they didn't care. And they'd sure get mad at the people that didn't want to treat folks fair. And I still hear ringing in my ear the words of those Southerners. Now I'm a Kentuckian, I'm from the South, but you won't hear hate coming from my mouth unless it's aimed at greed, or maybe hate itself. And I believe in a commonwealth. I'm from this place, and that's how I was raised. I'm a Kentuckian. Yes, it's true that there was hate around, but the people around me didn't want to try to bring folks down. They would show respect to the people that would come around. It didn't make a difference, poor, black, or brown. And I still see, looking over me, the eyes of those Southerners. I'm a Kentuckian, I'm from the South, but you won't hear hate coming from my mouth unless it's aimed at greed, or maybe hate itself. I believe in a commonwealth. I'm from this place, and that's how I was raised. I'm a Kentuckian. And I'm from the South, but you won't hear hate coming from my mouth unless it's aimed at greed, or maybe hate itself. 'Cause I believe in a commonwealth, and I'm from this place, and that's how I was raised. I'm a Kentuckian. Yes, yes, I'm from this place, and that's how I was raised. I'm a Southerner. This next song I wrote at a time when I was working up in Powell County doing counseling in the jail, and there was a poor feller that came in after getting his sentence that was just heartbroken over the fact that he knew he wouldn't live long enough to see freedom again. And indeed, he did not. So, I've been locked up for a year now in the Powell County Jail. They're gonna send me down the road a ways, and they might as well send me to hell. They say the life that I've lived now turned out all wrong. They're gonna send me down the road a ways, but I won't live that long. For the last year now, I've drank my weight in coffee, and this old concrete dungeon has become a home to me. They say the life that I've lived now turned out all wrong. They gave me 25 years today. I'll never live that long. Lived for 55 years. I guess that's a fair trade for the wreck that I made of my home and all the mistakes that I've made. The cocaine and the pills that I did turned out all wrong. They gave me 25 years today. I'll never live that long. lawyer, the public defender, she got me a plea. 18 to 20, but I'm too damn old. I won't ever be free. They say the life that I've lived now turned out all wrong. They gave me 25 years today. I'll never live that long. The cocaine and the pills that I did turned out all wrong. They gave me 25 years today. I won't live that long. Thank you.
Red Barn Radio is brought to you with the help of Chef Greg Scott and Broussard's Delta Kitchen, featuring authentic flavors of New Orleans and the Mississippi Delta. They're on Main Street in historic Georgetown, and Broussard's is also on Facebook. Red Barn Radio is also brought to you by Accuprint, providing printing, design, and fulfillment. They're online at accuprint.us. And now welcome back to tonight's Red Barn Radio program. Red Barn Radio is coming to you live on all of our social media platforms from the Arts Place Performance Hall here in the great city of Lexington, Kentucky. Please welcome back Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies to the Red Barn stage.
Thank you.
Y'all need to calm down.
Yeah, this is another jail song. Same jail, different story. This old cold concrete has kept me clean and sober for a while. This old cold concrete, well, it just don't suit my style. This old cold concrete has been like an old cold friend to me. But when they open up that door tonight, buddy, I'll go free. Well, I've been locked up for 60 days. I was on the hard stuff. Lord, they're gonna try and change my ways. Well, it's orange clothes, plastic shoes, coffee black, and hard luck. But they can't keep my beast in its cage. Well, the first week was the worst week. It was cold turkey and trances. Since the last time I was here, they've gone smoke-free. Well, tonight when I hit the street, buddy, I'll take my chances when they release this beast in me. This old cold concrete has kept me clean and sober for a while. This old cold concrete, well, it just don't suit my style. This old cold concrete has been like an old cold friend to me. But when they open up that door tonight, buddy, I'll go free. Pick it, John. I've gone told turkey, the time will only tell if this low is as low as I can go. I don't know whether I'm digging my own grave or my own well. I got a feeling I'll soon find out what's below. And now you can keep my toothbrush and the Bible on the floor by the mattress that I slept on every night. 'Cause when I get on the outside, I won't need them anymore. Up on my own instinct, I'll rely. This old cold concrete has kept me clean and sober for a while. This old cold concrete, well, it just don't suit my style. This old cold concrete has been like an old cold friend to me. But when they open up that door tonight, I'll go free. Yeah, when they open up that door tonight, I'll go free. We're going to tune.
You guitarists.
This next song is one that we recorded on our This Ain't My Generation record. It is a song about heartbreak and feeding cattle in the middle of the winter, which I have experience with. Not for a really, really, really long time, but at the same time, yeah. everything's frozen inside of their hearts. The sky's all broken and bursting apart. The white flakes are flying from a million cold hearts that all froze and broke open where no flame ever starts. Hey, hey, cover me up, I promise I won't make a sound. Hey, hey, cover me up, and I would just lay on the ground. Well, I thought there was laughter and warmth in her soul, but this cold rail I'm holding, I won't ever let go. It's like an icicle dagger drove straight through the chest, and the sky just keeps falling while I'm doing my best. Hey, hey, cover me up, I promise I won't make a sound. Hey, hey, cover me up, and I would just lay on the ground. Now I'll climb up this silo and I'll get back to work, because the cattle need feeding and my head is starting to hurt. And I'll just keep moving while cold hearts fall to the ground. And if I get to cursing real loud, the snow will swallow the sound. Hey, hey, cover me up, I promise I won't make a sound. Hey, hey, cover me up, and I would just lay on the ground. Lay on the ground. Lay on the ground.
Yeah. Well, this seems, Don, like a good time for you to tell folks about the other kind of musical groups you fiddle around with. You play some music. I mean, there's Grateful Dead coming across. There's Dickie Betts coming across. There's all kinds of stuff. Tell folks about some of the other influences that you have other than old time, mountain music.
Yeah, I was, I was really raised in the 80s listening mostly to what country music was on the radio. So that's always kind of running in the background in some weird, twisted way. If you ever listen to some of that stuff, it's, it can be kind of painful sometimes.
Well,
but
I don't know.
there's some good stuff and there's some stuff that's just kind of weird. So
Indeed.
anyway, but then I started listening to a lot of rock and roll when I was in high school, pretty much everything from the Who, Zeppelin, Southern rock, Leonard Skinner, Marshall Tucker Band, all that kind of stuff. And then I really got hooked on the Allman Brothers Band when I was in college and really dug deep into that stuff. And at that point, I was starting to play a lot of guitar and learning stuff, and then got just as hooked on the music of the Grateful Dead and all the sort of splinter groups that came out of that. And a lot of the other sort of Bay Area psychedelic stuff like Quicksilver Messenger Service and Big Brother and Holding Company and all of that stuff really I was attracted to. And I was also learning Doc Roberts tunes at the same time. So Doc Roberts was a great old-time Kentucky fiddle player that my friend John Harrod introduced me to his music when I was a young man. And so all that stuff sort of swirled together in a band that we had called the Green Jeans that my friend Roddy Puckett and his brother Todd, who we lost just a few months ago, created. The three of us created that band together. And it was a rock band. We were playing rock music. So we played all kinds of stuff, just covers of Grateful Dead, Allman Brothers, Neil Young, just tons of stuff, and we wrote stuff. We composed lots of instrumental music and so forth. And then if you speed up to about 8 years ago or so, my friend Danny Williams, who played in the new Kentucky String Ticklers with me, decided to put together an Allman Brothers tribute. And we, a whole group of us, got together and learned that music in detail and created a band called the Almond Butter Band. That is still actually the last live gig that I played was with that band back in March. And so Brandon and Josh are both full-time members of that band. So we share together. Brandon and I were raised on the same kind of stuff, not at the same time, but that whole jam band stuff, especially the old stuff. Yeah. And Josh and John and Anna are all also very into that stuff, and we play a lot. If we are around the house jamming, we're jamming together. We're jamming a lot of that stuff. So we kind of have a vision for sort of psychedelic, hillbilly, Kentucky, swirling kind of fusion of stuff.
You do sound very confused, Don.
We are confused.
So
we're clearly confused.
So, but as a profession, you one thing you do is you help people who are confused. Maybe you do some counseling stuff. Was that a good transition?
Well, that'll work. Yes, I am trained as a counselor. I'm trained as a psychologist, and I did counseling for many years, and I have managed programs for several years now. So I don't do much counseling, but I manage programs that provide lots of counseling and other treatment services through our community behavioral health system here, our community mental health center called New Vista that serves Lexington and the surrounding 16 counties around Fayette County. So we provide a lot of services here in central Kentucky.
That's a huge area. And so do you find yourself on the road a lot with that job?
I find myself on the Zoom screen.
Oh, right. How about prior to COVID?
There was a time that I was on the road a lot, and then just stuff kind of accumulates at the regional office that I work at that has kept me in the office a lot more than I'd like to be. I love being out on the road in all these great little towns where we have clinics and programs.
Listen to a lot of music when you're driving?
Yes.
Yeah, I bet. So what's been the best, the best part? We know it, well, all the difficult parts of the COVID especially for musicians. And you raised some of them in your quarantine song. It's, like the people we can't be with, and I just love it in Labor Day when you talk about Roger Combs.
Yeah.
Great example of somebody we take for granted. I take for granted that I'm going to see Roger whenever I go out to see any music.
Right.
Anywhere within 100 miles of here.
It's pretty much guaranteed that Roger would be here tonight if there was an in-person crowd.
No question about it. That's right. But so we take those people for granted. So what's been the best part of the COVID routine for you? What's been the silver lining of that for you?
Well, the silver lining for me personally has been, for me and I think for a lot of folks personally, has been that our houses and homes have become places of industry and creativity on that local sort of family level, rather than places to just sort of a station to go sleep and eat
And watch TV.
And watch TV. Yeah, one of my favorite things about the pandemic is there's a yeast shortage, a bread yeast shortage. Because so many people are baking. Well, that's a great thing that people are actually making stuff in their houses. They're actually working together as families. For us, both of my daughters were home for months for the first time since they were kids. We got to spend a lot of quality time together.
And then there's, of course, all the idiots out there who are capitalizing on that. I mean, like, for instance, that you say, hey, let's make a puzzle this week. And you go online to look for a puzzle, and the puzzle that was $3, the week before is now $33.
Well, yeah.
The puzzles have gone way, way up.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's hit the puzzle industry as well, Don. It's not just the yeast industry.
I should have invested in puzzles.
Or the meat industry. Yeah.
The other thing is I recorded a record when I was at home. I have some home studio equipment and started playing around with that and realized that I was getting some pretty good sounds, and I actually have up on Spotify a little record called Through This Storm that is just me and a guitar, and my friend Anna here helped me sort of spiff that up and put it out there for the public.
I did see that.
Yeah, listen to it. It's just me and a guitar, a lot of instrumental stuff, me and acoustic guitar, and then some songs that I wrote, some new songs. And
his daughter Sadie did the artwork, the album artwork.
Oh, yes.
It's beautiful.
Right.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I can't forget that. It is a great piece of art that is a drawing of my greenhouse and garden that my daughter Sadie and I primarily, the whole family really worked in it. And back early when we were first putting that garden out, she went out and did a great painting of it.
Oh, all right. There's that song that you wrote. I listened to one song of yours about where you were sort of likening a tumultuous relationship to a cold front or to a bad weather front. Was that part of the writing that you did during this, or did that come before?
That came long before, yeah.
Yeah. I like that song.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's neat. That's a neat tune. I liked so many of your songs. It was just, it was really great and kind of therapeutic for me to listen through them. There was a lot of depth to them, but also they were very accessible.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Have you done much in the way of songwriting workshops? I know you've done a lot of guitar things and a lot of instrument things. Have you done some songwriting workshops as well?
Very little, just little bitty pieces here and there of. I really can't even remember when I've done them. I think maybe at Cowan Creek I did like an afternoon workshop or something, and then I've had a lot of long conversations with other songwriter friends of mine, like Matthew Parsons, who's a great songwriter and teaches some songwriting classes. and Anna and John, and there are some great songwriters around, and we get together and talk about it and sort of share our theories. Linda Stokely from the local Honeys, she and I are constantly passing ideas back and forth, and Nicholas Jamerson and I have done a lot of sort of sharing ideas and talking, so that's always big fun.
So you talk about passing around theories. What are some of the theories that you would pass around? Like if you were doing a little, what is a recent sort of epiphany that you've had about songwriting and what makes it work and what makes it not work?
Well, I think the stuff that interests me is that you can't really. It's not like you got a little guy up in your head that can make stuff. It's from nothing. So it's a matter of paying attention to consciousness and ideas that are passing through. That's really what it's all about. And then editing what comes to you and try to channel what you bring into the whole piece of work with just tons of editing and tons of sort of priming yourself to think in certain ways. And that's always interesting. But John and I were just talking about a great interview that we listened to from a guy named Jim Campolongo, who's he's a New York-based Telecaster guitar player, and he writes some songs. And he was talking about, John, why don't you tell that story? You got.
I was waiting for
I'll
I
try.
was waiting for John.
I'll
to say
try.
something.
He was talking about an old gig he had with a great songwriter in San Francisco. This guy was this really respected local songwriter, and he got the sideman gig. And the first time they got together to practice, everything went well. He learned all his songs, and at the end of it, Jim had been trying to write some songs with lyrics and whatnot. So at the end of the gig, end of the practice, they were all packing up, and Jim said to the guy, I can't remember his name, but he said, "Hey, I got half a song. I would really like for you to help me finish it." And he said, the guy said, "Everybody's got half a song," and just walked out the door.
But Campolongo said that everywhere he goes when he's teaching, he says, that's the number one thing you need to know as a songwriter is finish the song.
Yeah. Oh, I also want to say, we're getting a message from on high over here from a fellow apostle.
Brother Roddy.
Yeah, and above it there.
Oh, and
Brother
David
Laidback.
Prince. And Brother Laidback.
Oh, and
Country
David
People.
Prince and Roddy.
Yeah.
Excellent. We just said last names, but those guys will be okay with that.
Yeah, our friend's David Prince, who is otherwise known as the Laidback Country Picker.
Country man.
He actually came to our last live performance we played in Mount Sterling. And, of course, we go to as many shows of his as we can. He's getting ready to play in a
certainly.
couple of weeks in Mount Sterling at the drive-in, so y'all ought to
At
get
the
out
drive-in,
there.
all right.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, folks, what fun it's been. I've been with Don Rogers. We've been with Don Rogers. You've been with Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies. Wait. Say that again.
Apostlebillies.
No, I know that, but I think I have a new name for it.
Do you have a new one?
Yeah, the Apostlebillies.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, you can get
It
confused
sounds
about
maybe
it
like
once
a
again.
evangelical old-time band.
That's right.
All right, so Don Rogers, Josh Anglin on drums, Anna Klein on vocals, John Looney on guitar, and Brandon May on bass. They are the Apostlebillies, and we've been having a great time. Hope you have been too. Thanks for being with us on Red Barn Radio, but we're going to get back to some more music before you leave.
All right. Well,
Welcome them back, folks, the Apostlebillies.
all right. I wrote this song about. I've written a few songs about car wrecks and junkyards and that kind of thing. I wrote this song about a car wreck that happened when I was a teenager with one of my old friends from high school, and there's a little place on the road I lived on that if you got going fast enough, you could jump your car. And we were teenage boys, and guess what we did? Joe Heisel had a Mercury. We used to go out and give it hell. He in that fine Capri and me in my black Chevelle. We was driving too fast down 2 Mile Pike. I saw his lights when I first left town. Then I lost him after a mile or two, so I stopped and I turned around. And as I was coming over Bawamazon Hill, I could see him standing there. He and his buddy with that look on their face, all four wheels in the air. If you hit that hill and you hit it right, them American cars would take flight. We were just trying to get off of the ground, break them ropes and chains that held us down. Well, he had flipped and he skidded at the top of the hill, couple 100 feet, and he stopped. All we could do was just thank the Lord, find a phone and call the cops. There was a force inside of us coming alive, and we really didn't know what for. We were caught between childhood's dream and knocking on heaven's door. But Joe had the character and the strength to wrestle that bad beast down. He was the salt of the earth, he was a man of peace when his life got off of the ground. If you hit that hill and you hit it right, them American cars would take flight. We were just trying to get off of the ground, break these ropes and chains that held us down. And let's tighten it up. I mean, just not 6 months. This is a song that I wrote several years ago and recorded with the new Kentucky String Ticklers. Ed Commons helped us out with that record. He produced it and engineered it. And we thought this old murder pillage song would be pretty good for this band. This is about a true story that happened up in at the corner of Powell, Estill, Wolf, and Lee counties to the Townsend family back in the Civil War time, right after the end of the Civil War. From evil men come evil deeds, horse hooves beating through the fallen leaves. They were told there was gold at the house on Miller's Creek. Old man Townsend and his wife got down the guns, got ready to fight. The children went running to the hills and they did not speak. They watched as the gunshot blast ring out from the ragged soldiers to the old log house. Then the old man appeared with his gun above his head. He could see his wife laying on the floor, warm red blood running out the door. A ball from a rebel's gun had struck her dead. Warm blood runs down Townsend Mountain. Blood runs cold out of Townsend Cave. Get my guns and I'll search till I find them. Then I'll lay their evil bodies in their grave. Well, the air was cold and the ground was damp. I was wet and hungry in a Union camp when I got the news about the murder at my home. The youngest of all of the Townsend boys, I could close my eyes and hear the voice of Mom and Dad, so I set out all alone. I found the men I was looking for, corrupted soldiers of a brutal war. I hunted them down and took them out to Townsend Cave. Took them all down one by one, not a man left standing, not a loaded gun. I drug them outside and laid them in a shallow grave. In the Winchester jail, a man named Stevens, arrested in town for unknown reasons, was the last of the men that I was looking for. I took him to a place just outside of town. I cursed him and I beat him and I shot him down. In peace my folks will rest forevermore. Warm blood runs down Townsend Mountain. Blood runs cold out of Townsend Cave. Get my guns and I'll search till I find them. Then I'll lay their evil bodies in their grave. Cause evil men put evil in your eyes and you can't turn back the time.
We would like to thank Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies for being with us this evening. We also thank our volunteers for their help in making our production happen each and every week. Thank you all for listening to our webcast, watching us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and those listening to us on the Red Barn network of stations. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn Radio's official radio partner, NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. It's your chance to hear more great live Kentucky music from Red Barn Radio and WEKU. Red Barn Radio, roots music, Southern style. Red Barn Radio comes to you from our home, the Arts Place Performance Hall in downtown Lexington, Kentucky. Our website has updates and further information on our guests and our program. We're on the web at redbarnradio.com. Next week here on the Red Barn stage, a group whose music has been called both haunting and introspective. Cypress likes to set the scene with their voices, layering in their instruments as the song progresses. This is an incredible band. That kind of style pulls you right in. Get pulled into their orbit with us as we begin Season 19, Red Barn Radio Season 19, with Cypress. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Everybody clap. Band, clap. That's right. That's right. And now, folks, we got to get back to one more tune from Don Rogers and the Apostlebillies. So glad you guys could be with us. We had a great time tonight. Thanks.
Same here, Brad. Thank you. The junkyard man has good times when the poor man has hard times. Transmissions, radiators, brake lines. For the junkyard man means dollar signs. Well, it's greasy hands, bloody knuckles, stripped threads, tires showing metal where the word treads. A grease monkey's money on an oil pan means a T-bone steak for the junk man. Yeah, the junk man, the junk man. When the people get the blues, he gets a new pair of shoes. But the poor man, he's on the junk plan. When the recession hits him hard and he's down at the old junkyard. There's transmission fluid in the bare dirt. In the back seat window there's a dirty shirt. Weeds growing up through the wheel wells. He'll crush everything that he can't sell. There's dried up blood on the dashboard and a handful of change laying in the floor. Young people died before they should, but them rear quarter panels look pretty good. Yeah, the junk man, the junk man. When the people get the blues, he gets a new pair of shoes. But the poor man, he's on the junk plan. The recession hits him hard and it's down to the old junkyard. Down on the roadside, his alternator quit and his car died. Now he's got no money for his sweetheart, cause he spent it all down at the junkyard. Yeah, the junkyard man has good times when the poor man has hard times. His transmissions, radiators, brake lines. For the junkyard man means dollar signs. Yeah, the junk man, the junk man. When the people get the blues, he gets a new pair of shoes. But the poor man, he's on the junk plan. The recession hits him hard and it's down to the old junkyard. The recession hits him hard and it's down to the old junkyard.
All right, the Apostlebillies.
Thank you.
Well, that's all from Red Barn Radio for this week. You can see and hear us worldwide as we stream live on the web on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern in North America. Be sure to check out all of our social media for all updates to our upcoming schedule. And now from all of us here at Red Barn Radio to all of our friends worldwide, it's our hope that you have a great week and stay safe. Until next time, good night from all of us here at Red Barn Radio.